Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there, you're setting up maybe a new gaming console or a streaming stick, or even just your laptop, right?
Yeah.
And you want to hook it up to maybe that perfectly good old projector you've got,
Yeah.
or even like your trusty VCR to record something.
Oh, definitely. Happens all the time.
And you see that sleek HDMI port on the new thing, and then you look at the familiar but much older S-video or composite inputs on the other end.
Yep, those yellow, red, and white plugs.
Right. And you just think, how on earth do these two talk to each other? It's like that classic tech puzzle, isn't it? Bridging today's digital signals with, well, the analog heroes of the past.
It's a really good point because, tech moves so fast, but our older gear, if it still works,
Yeah.
well, it doesn't just disappear.
Exactly. Still perfectly good sometimes.
Right, and that's where these bridge devices become really, really essential. It's fascinating, actually, this whole category of hardware.
The translators.
Kind of, yeah. They're vital, often overlooked, They help extend the life of perfectly good older equipment. It saves you from having to upgrade everything all the time.
Makes sense.
So for this deep dive, we're really focusing on one specific solution, a piece of hardware designed for a very particular conversion problem.
Okay.
Basically, taking an HDMI signal, that high-def digital output we all know, and sort of translating it into something older devices can actually understand, like that VCR or maybe an older standard definition TV.
Gotcha. And that's our mission today for you listening in. We're going to dive deep into exactly what this thing, an HDMI to S video converter with HDMI pass-through, actually does. We'll look at who it's really for, what crucial details you absolutely need to know to see if it fits your specific needs.
And there are some very crucial details.
Oh, yeah. And why some of those details might be, complete deal breakers you just can't ignore. We're pulling all our info from the WolfPack product description itself, so we're sticking close to the source.
Right, getting into the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. So let's get started and try to demystify this digital to analog bridge.
That's it.
So kicking us off, let's nail down the basics. What is this device, the WolfPack HDMI to S video converter, at its heart?
Well, think of it like you said, a translator.
Okay.
On one side, you've got HDMI. That's the modern standard, right? High definition digital video and audio, super sharp. The data super highway.
Yep.
On the other side, you have the older analog world, S video and composite.
Right. S video was always a bit better than composite, wasn't it? Separate signals.
Exactly. S video or separate video kept brightness and color apart. So yeah, slightly better picture. Composite just mushes it all into one signal, usually that yellow plug alongside the red and white for audio.
Got those tucked away in a drawer somewhere, I bet.
We all do. So this converter's main job, its fundamental purpose, is to take that modern HDMI digital signal and make it speak the language of those older analog formats.
Makes sense. A translator.
Precisely. And the clever bit is the conversion itself. This specific unit takes what's called an unencrypted HDMI video and audio signal, and that unencrypted part, super important, we'll circle back to that.
Okay, unencrypted. Got it.
And it carefully converts it to either a composite output or an S video output, your choice. But it also handles the audio.
Ah, right. HDMI carries audio too.
It does. So it extracts that audio and gives you two analog outputs, usually left and right stereo RCA jacks. So you get both the video and the sound translated for your older gear.
It's pretty comprehensive.
And there's a little bonus here too. It's also pretty flexible with DVI signals.
Oh, okay. The other digital one with the screws.
That's the one, specifically DVI-D, the digital version. If you have a source that uses DVI-D, you can just use a simple DVI to HDMI cable or adapter, plug it into this converter, and it'll still do the conversion to analog for you.
So it handles both HDMI and DVI-D inputs.
As long as you have the right cable or adapter, yeah. It adds a bit more versatility for bridging those different digital video types over to analog.
Okay, that conversion part seems clear. But this converter also boasts about HDMI pass-through. Now, what does that actually mean for someone using it, in practical terms?
Right, the pass-through. It's actually a really useful feature. Think of it like having an HDMI splitter built right in.
Right.
So while the converter is busy doing its main job, translating that HDMI signal into S-video or composite for your old TV or recorder, it also lets the original, untouched, unconverted HDMI signal continue or pass through to another HDMI device simultaneously.
Oh, okay. So you could watch on a modern HDMI monitor
Exactly.
while you're recording onto an old VCR using the S-video output.
From the same source. Precisely that. You could have the crisp digital picture on one screen,
Yeah.
and at the exact same time, maybe your VCR or an older TV is getting the analog version, all from that single HDMI input.
Wow. Okay. That is a powerful feature. Adds a lot of flexibility, especially if you have like a multi-screen setup or need to record stuff.
It definitely does. That pass-through is great for flexibility, but, and this is a huge but.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
Yeah. This brings us to probably the most critical point.
Mm-hmm.
The detail that really defines what this converter can and, more importantly, cannot do.
Okay, lay it on us.
The source material is crystal clear on this, and we really have to hammer this home. This converter is not HDCP compatible.
Not HDCP compatible.
Yeah.
Okay. Break that down. What does that mean for, everyday use? Because that sounds like it could be a major problem.
It absolutely is for many common scenarios. HDCP stands for High Bandwidth Digital Content Protection.
Right. Copy protection stuff.
Exactly. In simple terms, it's encryption built into the HDMI standard to stop people from easily copying digital movies, TV shows, things like that, as the signal goes from the source like your Blu-ray player or cable box.
Or streaming stick.
Or streaming stick, yeah, to your TV or display. It's basically woven into almost all modern commercially protected content.
So, if the device you're plugging into this converter is sending out an HDCP protected signal, and honestly, most commercial devices like your cable box, satellite receiver, DVD player, Blu-ray player, Apple TV, Roku stick, they all use HDCP.
Right.
Then this WolfPack converter will not work, period. You'll likely just get a blank screen, maybe an error message, no picture, no sound.
Wow. Okay. So even though the features list might mention something about HDCP compliance?
Yeah, it mentions HDCP 1.1 compliant in a bullet point, which is confusing. But the overriding warning, stated very clearly and prominently in the description, is that for actual use with devices, it is not HDCP compatible. We have to go with the strongest warning here for clarity.
So that compliance mention might be about the pass-through or something technical, but not the conversion part.
That's the most likely interpretation, yeah. For the actual conversion from HDMI to S-Video Composite, HDCP is a hard stop. This converter is only for unencrypted HDMI signals.
And where do you even find unencrypted HDMI signals these days?
That's the key question. They often come from things like older PCs maybe, some specific video conferencing units, certain camcorders before HDCP became standard everywhere, maybe some specialized video gear.
So not your typical home entertainment stuff.
Generally, no. This HDCP limitation is, without a doubt, the single most critical piece of information. It defines the use case. It's the absolute make-or-break detail you need to understand before you even think about buying this.
Okay, wow. That HDCP warning is definitely a showstopper for what many people probably first think of, like hooking up their cable box to an old TV.
Absolutely. That's the most common thing people might want to do, and this won't work for that.
But it also really highlights the specific niche this converter does fill, right? So let's flip that. Why would you need this knowing that huge limitation?
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because even with that limitation, there are some very practical, specific uses where this thing could be exactly what someone needs.
That's right. Understanding the why for this device is all about finding those specific unencrypted HDMI sources. Let's walk through some concrete examples from the product description because they really show who this is for.
Okay, good idea.
First up, recording. Imagine you have, say, an unencrypted video conferencing unit, or maybe an older camcorder that happens to have an HDMI output, but it's not protected.
Right.
This converter lets you take that output and record it onto an older AV recorder, or maybe a DVR that only has S-video or composite inputs.
Ah, so archiving or capturing from those specific sources onto older formats.
Precisely. It bridges that gap, letting you save video from those modern-ish but unprotected digital sources onto gear you already have.
Okay, use case one, recording unencrypted sources. What else?
Second, older TVs. Think about that great old TV in the guest room or the workshop. Still works fine, but it only has S-video or composite.
Yep.
If you want to output, say, unencrypted karaoke video and audio from a source with HDMI, this converter lets you do that. Or maybe connecting a PC or laptop again, crucially, with an unencrypted HDMI output to that older TV.
Giving those old screens a new lease on life with specific types of content.
Exactly. It keeps them useful for certain things.
Makes sense. What's third?
Third connects back to that pass-through feature we talked about, simultaneous viewing and recording.
Ah, right, the double duty aspect.
Yeah. Thanks to the HDMI pass-through, you could be watching the nice, sharp, high-def picture on your main HDMI monitor. While at the same time, this box is down-converting that same signal to analog, sending it out via S-video or composite to be recorded onto, say, a DVD recorder, or maybe just displayed on a standard def TV somewhere else.
So you can save it in an older format without messing up your main viewing.
Exactly. Super flexible for those kinds of multi-screen, multi-format workflows, as long as the source is clean, unencrypted.
Okay, cool. And there was one more.
Yeah, fourth is kind of related to the first, specialized equipment.
Right.
Like attaching a video conferencing unit again. The description stresses unencrypted HDMI output to a DVR or maybe a presentation system that only has S-video input.
So integrating specific, maybe professional or older gear that wasn't designed to talk directly.
Precisely. Ensuring compatibility within existing, maybe slightly older setups.
Okay, so summing up this part. This converter isn't your everyday plug anything in HDMI solution.
Yeah.
Because of the HDCP thing.
Definitely not.
But it's a very specific tool for very specific tasks. Recording unencrypted sources, using older displays, doing simultaneous viewing and analog recording, or connecting specialized gear.
That nails it.
And the versatility it does have comes entirely from its ability to handle those unencrypted signals. That's the absolute key.
The golden key, as you said. It unlocks the value of your existing analog gear, but only in those specific circumstances.
Got it. So with those applications clear, let's dig a bit deeper into the other features. What else can this WolfPack converter actually handle? What are the tech specs we should know about, like resolutions?
Right. Beyond the core function, it does have some decent technical chops, assuming you're feeding it that compatible signal. On resolution, it's actually quite flexible.
Okay.
For HDTV inputs, it accepts a pretty wide range, starts down at 480p, standard def, goes all the way up to 1080p at 60 Hz, full HD.
1080p 60, that covers a lot.
It does. Though, interestingly, the specs note it does not support 1080p at a 24 Hz.
Oh, the film frame rate.
Yeah, sometimes used for movies, so just be aware of that specific exclusion. But 1080p 60 is very common, and for PC inputs, it's also versatile. Supports everything from basic VGA resolution at 60 Hz right up to UXGA at 60 Hz.
UXGA, yeah.
600 by 1200 pixels. Pretty high resolution for older standards. So yeah, it handles a good range of computer display settings too.
Okay, good resolution support. What about like international standards?
Good question. It can convert the output signal to either NTSC or PAL.
Ah, the US, Japan versus Europe, Australia standards.
Exactly. There's usually a switch on the box so you can select the right format for your region or your specific analog device. That's a nice touch for compatibility.
Definitely. Now, audio. You mentioned it extracts audio. How does that work exactly?
Right. Audio needs a little care. So the audio that's embedded within the HDMI input signal, the converter can extract that and convert it to analog stereo. That's what comes out of the red and white RCA jacks.
Okay, so HDMI audio becomes analog stereo.
Yes. However, the unit also has a separate coaxial digital audio input, like an SPDIF input.
Right.
If you plug a different digital audio source into that specific input, maybe an old CD player or something, the converter does not convert that coaxial input signal to analog stereo.
Oh, okay, so it only converts the audio coming in via HDMI.
Correct. That separate coaxial digital audio input just gets passed straight through to the coaxial digital audio output. It doesn't get converted to analog by this box.
That's a really important distinction. So, HDMI audio in is analog stereo out. Coax digital audio in, coax digital audio out.
You got it. It's a subtle but crucial detail depending on your setup.
And what are all the outputs then? Just to list them clearly.
Okay, outputs. You get quite a few, all potentially active at the same time. For audio, you get one SPDIF digital coaxial out. You get the two analog stereo LR outs from the HDMI source audio. And you get the HDMI audio pass-through, assuming your original HDMI input had audio.
Right.
For video, you get the main HDMI pass-through, you get the S-video output, and you get the composite video output, the yellow RCA plug.
Lots of options simultaneously.
Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive on the output side. And just circling back quickly to DVI.
Ah, yes, the DVI compatibility, if we connect this to the bigger picture.
Right. It supports single-link DVI-D, remember, using an adapter or cable into the HDMI input port. But here's the critical detail for DVI. If you are using a DVI source, this converter will only output a digital signal on the HDMI pass-through.
So even if I use a DVI cable, which can carry analog.
Doesn't matter to this box. It only processes the digital part, DVI-D, from that DVI source. So the HDMI pass-through will carry the digital DVI signal, but the S-video and composite outputs will still work, converting that digital DVI signal to analog.
Okay, so DVI-D input gives you digital pass-through and converted analog S video composite out.
Exactly. But the nuance is, if your end goal was to get an analog VGA signal from your DVI source using this box, that won't happen directly. You'd need a separate specific DVI to VGA converter for that. This box focuses on HDMI to S video composite.
Got it. The DVI stuff has layers. Okay, beyond the tech specs, what about the physical side? Size, weight, price?
Sure. Physically, it's reasonably compact, but not tiny. Dimensions are about 141 millimeters wide, 127 deep, and 38 high. Weight is just over half a kilo, 510 grams.
So it sits nicely on a desk or shelf, not a huge unit.
Right. Desktop friendly. The price listed is $299.95, and it comes with a 1-year warranty.
Almost $300. So it's definitely an investment for a specific need, not an impulse buy. The warranty is good, though.
Yeah, reflects its specialized nature, I think.
Okay, so we know what it does, who it's for, the specs. But every gadget has its quirks, right?
Yeah.
Things you need to watch out for, maybe some operational tips.
Absolutely. Every piece of tech needs a little understanding to get the best out of it, or to avoid frustration.
What are the key things here? The nuances, the limitations, the stuff you really need to know before you plug it in.
Well, this raises an important question about expectations. The source material gives us a few key caveats. First, and this trips people up with converters sometimes, it's strictly a one-way street, meaning it takes HDMI or BBID in and converts it to S-video or composite out. It absolutely cannot be used in reverse.
Ah, so you can't use it to plug, say, your old VCR into your new HDMI TV.
Correct. If you need to go from S-video to HDMI, you need a completely different type of converter. This one only goes digital to analog.
Okay, good clarification. One-way street. What else?
There's a practical tip about the display. If your HDMI source signal isn't full screen, maybe it's showing black bars, letterbox, or pillar box, the analog output from the converter might look weird. Wrong size, wrong position on the screen.
Okay. How do you fix that?
The solution, according to the source, is to fix it at the source before you even turn on the converter. Go into your HDMI source device's settings and make sure it's set to output a full screen picture.
Set the source to full screen first. Got it.
And related to that, they also recommend setting the HDMI color space in your source device's menu to something called YCBCR.
Why that specifically?
It's just a common way digital video color is handled. Setting it to YCBCR helps ensure the color information gets translated correctly for the older analog TV or recorder, preventing weird color shifts or problems. It's a good troubleshooting step if the picture looks off.
Okay, so full screen source plus YCBCR color space, better results on the analog end.
That seems to be the advice, yeah. Worth trying if you hit display issues.
I feel like we need to mention it one more time.
Oh, absolutely. We just cannot stress this enough. It's the elephant in the room, the #1 limitation. This converter and HDCP do not mix.
Not HDCP compatible.
Not compatible for conversion. If your HDMI source is sending a protected signal, which most commercial media devices do, you will get nothing useful out of the S-video or composite ports. No picture, no sound. It's purely, solely, exclusively for unencrypted HDMI signals.
Seriously, if you're thinking about this for your cable box, your PS5, your Apple TV...
Forget it. It won't work.
Yeah.
That HDCP limitation is the absolute deal breaker you must be aware of.
Okay, that is incredibly important to hammer home. Knowing these specifics, the one-way operation, the full-screen tip, and especially the massive HDCP limitation, that's going to save you a lot of potential frustration.
Definitely.
It helps you understand if this is truly the right tool for your job. It's not about complaining about what it can't do with protected stuff, but understanding what it can do really well within its specific zone, handling those unencrypted signals.
Precisely. Manage expectations based on its design.
Right. So let's try and pull all these threads together then. Our deep dive into this WolfPack HDMI to S-video converter with HDMI pass-through. It's shown us it's a very specific tool for a very specific job. Its main goal is bridging that gap between HDMI or DVI-D and the older S-video or composite world, but critically, only for unencrypted signals.
The key takeaway.
The HDMI pass-through is a genuinely useful bonus, adding flexibility for watching on an HDMI screen while simultaneously outputting analog.
Definitely a strong feature for the right use case.
So it can be a lifesaver for integrating some modern sources with your perfectly good legacy gear, those older TVs, VCRs, projectors.
Yeah, keeping them in the game.
But only, and we've said it a lot, but it matters, only if you fully understand and respect that fundamental limitation regarding HDCP.
Couldn't say it better. Understanding the limitation is key to satisfaction.
Absolutely.
And, this brings us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to sort of chew on. Given how fast technology changes, right? It's relentless. But digital and analog standards, they still coexist, sometimes quite awkwardly.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So thinking about your own setup, what other kinds of bridge technologies might be essential for you? Maybe not this exact box, but similar problem solvers. Think about the satisfaction of digging out an old home movie on a tape and realizing, hey, with the right little gadget, you can actually get that onto your computer or play it on an older screen you still love. It's about understanding these specific conversion tools, their strengths, and definitely their limitations. How can that knowledge help you maybe extend the life and usefulness of the gear you already own?
Instead of just feeling like you have to replace everything the moment a new plug comes out.
Exactly. It's about being informed, making smart choices, and really getting the most value out of all your tech, the old stuff and the new stuff